Salaki, y'all. I meant for this to just be a calm collection video, but hey, when you see certain things, when certain things get brought up momentan, it kind of jumps on you. Them Syrians was Aram. Also going back to I didn't do the research. I wanted to see if Aram goes back to the Armenians, but we'll see. I'll search it. Bands of Moabites and bands of the people of Ammon. So even in today's day and time, you got Edomites, the so-called white man, the so-called Chinese man, and the so-called Japanese man, all and Ishmael, all getting in alliance together. He sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken by his servants the prophets. Surely at the commandment of the Lord, this came upon Judah to remove them from his sight because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had done, and also because of the innocent blood that he had shed. For he had filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim rested with his fathers. This is the point. Then Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his place. Now I remind you, this man's original name was Eliakim. Jehoiakim's original name, Shalakia. Nope. Yeah, Jehoiakim's original name was Eliakim. So his son, Jehoiachin, which most likely had a different original name. Then Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his place, and the king of Egypt did not come out of his land anymore. Why so? Because you had Edomites, Moabites, Ammonites, you had Nebuchadnezzar, all dwelling in that land. So as I said before, the king of Egypt made, back in 2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 33, verse 31 on down, but the point's at verse 33. Now Pharaoh Necho put him in prison at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and he imposed on the land a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Jehoiakim came through on this, verse 35. So Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from everyone according to his assessment, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. So it's like Pharaoh took the money, took all the tribute in, and then when all hell broke loose, he ducked back. Like, hey, I want to have nothing to do with y'all. You probably had Moabites, Ammonites, and Edomites running past different guards of Pharaoh. And he probably told him, yo, duck back, don't have nothing to do with him. While he had the money, and he took the money and acted like it never happened. Now, I'll remind you, the Egyptians are mizraim. Okay? And some of the Egyptians were dwelling in the land of Philistine, Gaza, Tyre, Sidon, because they had all that. They somewhat it's like when you got when two people are in rulership, some of the guards of one king may be able to patrol a certain area of land if their people are in that land, somewhat checking up on the people. So you had Philistines who were dwelling right next to Israel while the kings of Judah were being taken out of power. So you had Egyptians, which are the sons of Mizraim, coming up further and further towards Tyre and Sidon, probably staking out the land, probably getting different resources, putting certain things in play, probably taking women. They may have been, hey, only the Lord knows. We see how people are in today's day and time, and we could see through certain pieces of history. But you had Pharaoh, Pharaoh was probably plotting like, hey, let's get ours and get out, and within that time span, you may have had certain Egyptians that were dwelling in the land of the Philistines that may have been left behind. And you may have had them mingling in among the people, among the Philistines, which is the grandson of Canaan, the son of Kesluham, right on that coastland. You probably had Egyptians with houses and whatnot, mingling in with the women, having sons. So the Philistines in today's day and time, they're somewhat of a mixed multitude of people. But there's most likely a good amount of uh Philistines from the grandson of Canaan, the son of Kesluhim, that are still there. And most likely there's still some Mizraimites, some Egyptians that are still in that area. But they, as I said before, you had these nations that were mixing in with each other. So you had Assyria, you had Edomites, Ishmaelites, Arabs, Moabites, and Ammonites, all dwelling in the same somewhat area of people. So they may not look like Egyptians, but they may be Egyptians in that area of the Philistines. But we know that the Edomites then tried to move in, them 1948ers. Okay, verse 5. 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 5. Now the rest of the Shalakia, verse 6. So Jehoiakim rested with his fathers, then Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his place. And the king of Egypt did not come out of his land anymore. For the king of Babylon had taken all that belongs to the king of Egypt. So Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, took everything that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the brook of Egypt to the river Euphrates. And I'm gonna get a picture of where that is. So it's like it's like the king of Egypt, Pharaoh Necho, which was a Egyptian from the forefather Mizraim. It's like he said, hey, count it to the game. A loss is a loss. All that up there, hey, that's for Nebuchadnezzar to deal with. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. But yet he still had gold and whatnot. He didn't help Jehoiachin. If you pay tribute to somebody, you expect for their service in turn, So this is a map. Y'all bear with me. I typed in the brook of Egypt. Okay. Boom. Okay. Now Israel is from boom to boom. That was the land of Jerusalem and Israel. From the Dead Sea going down, and then it hits a boom. It hits like that. And you could best believe you could look up a map, but King David had a lot of area of that in control. King Solomon had a lot of area of that in control. What do you see right there? From the brook of Egypt all the way east of the Euphrates River. From the brook of Egypt to the river of Euphrates. So they took Nebuchadnezzar took all of Israel. Boom, from the brook of Egypt. You see it. That's the line. Boom, 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 boom. So even going right here, boom, even down to this area. That's all Saudi Arabia, Dedan, and a couple other city states. But Nebuchadnezzar took all of this, and Pharaoh Necho he probably pulled his men back and was like, hey, they can have it. But yet he had Israel paying tribute to him. So Israel was up here, and they probably had records like, hey, didn't we pay talents to him? Like what happened to Pharaoh? Ain't he supposed to help us? Meanwhile, Nebuchadnezzar was coming down and taking all of this, taking it all back, and pretty much took all of Judah and Israel, took all of it and pulled it back to his land. Okay. Now Pharaoh, if he was righteous, he would have stood by Jehoiachin, even if he got slain. But instead, they paid a tribute to him and he pulled back. So it's like he just gave up any type of alliance with Israel and Jerusalem. So in turn, he gave up the captivity because Israel was paying, Judah and Jerusalem was paying tribute to him. So he gave up the captivity.